The top stories tonight in Y News. The International Criminal Court has asked the Philippine government to provide them proof of the state's ongoing investigation on the killings related to the war against illegal drugs.
The Supreme Court has dismissed a petition asking it to order President Rodrigo Duterte to defend the country's territory against China's incursion.
Formerly executives Mohit and Twinkle Dargani paid a private aircraft company early 2 million pesos in cash to escape the Senate's arrest order, but a senator would like to know who paid for the chartered flight.
Presidential aspirants submitted themselves for drug testing. However, a candidate prefers drug tests without prior notice. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, November 24, 2021. I am Jorlene Delgado.
Next hour, as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William P.
First in the news. The Duterte administration needs to present evidence of its investigation into the anti-drug war killings. Rosa Licons explains why.
To support the deferral request of the Philippine Government, International Criminal Court or ICC prosecutor Karim Khan says the Duterte administration should provide concrete proof that it's conducting an investigation into the crimes against humanity committed during the conduct of the controversial anti-drug campaign. This is to ascertain the responsibility of people behind the human rights abuse. In a statement, ICC prosecutor Khan said the information must consist of tangible evidence, of probative value, and a sufficient degree of specificity. Pursuant to Rule 53 of the ICC Rules of Procedure and Evidence, in the coming days, the prosecutor will request the Philippine government to provide substantiating information regarding the investigations and proceedings referred in the deferral request. This information should be provided promptly. In his letter requesting a deferral, Philippine Ambassador to the Netherlands Eduardo Malaya said the Philippine government was investigating the alleged crimes against humanity committed during the drug war. He said the Philippine government has undertaken and continues to undertake thorough investigations of all reported deaths during anti-narcotic operations in the country. ICC prosecutor Khan said though their investigation is temporarily suspended, his office will continue its analysis of information already in its possession and any new information it may receive from third parties. Meanwhile, acting presidential spokesperson and cabinet secretary Carlo Nograles reiterated the position of the Duterte administration that the ICC has no jurisdiction to probe the campaign against illegal drugs, and the request for information of the ICC prosecutor is an acknowledgement that alleged victims can seek redress in Philippine legal institutions. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Supreme Court ruled that it has no power to constrain President Rodrigo Duterte to do specific actions to defend the national territory. Dante Amento tells us why live. Dante, go ahead.
Good evening, Diego. In a 9-page unanimous ruling penned by Associate Justice Rodil Zalameda, the Supreme Court dismissed a petition for mandamus for utter lack of merit. The petition was filed by attorney Romeo Esmero against President Rodrigo Duterte, compelling the latter to defend our national territory, including the West Philippine Sea, against Chinese incursions. The petitioner also asserted the chief executive to sue and demand that China should be accountable for the Kalayaan Islands, which it took from the country. However, based on the resolution, the High Court stresses that the President remains immune from any nature of suit filed against him during his incumbency. The SC cited the ruling in De Lima versus Duterte over harassment case, which was dismissed. Mandamus is also an allegedly wrong remedy because it only covers any tribunal, corporation, or officer who unlawfully shows neglect in performing duties mandated by the law. The court added, the President is also the sole organ of our foreign relations and the assigned chief architect of our foreign policy under the Constitution. As the head of state, he is free to use his power at his own discretion and will only be accountable to his country. Meanwhile, the palace welcomes the court's decision and stresses that the executive power indeed rests on the President, including the peaceful and stable conduct of foreign affairs. The President is also firm on his position to continue the peaceful resolution of disputes. And that's our latest live. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you for that live report, Dante Amento, reporting live from Quezon City.
Meanwhile, 2 days before the next Senate Blue Ribbon hearing, a senator reveals the supposed chartered flight of formerly pharmaceutical executives Mohit and Twinkle Dargani cost nearly 2 million pesos, raising questions on siblings' income taxes and who really paid for their so-called escape plan. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
Senator Risa Hontiveros believes the recent discovery on the cost of the supposed chartered flight of formerly executives Twinkle and Mohit Dargani may help in proving the recommendation of charges of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee against those involved in the controversy. The Dargani siblings were on board a private plane at the Davao City International Airport en route to Malaysia when they were intercepted by the Senate security on November 14. The lawmaker showed to the media a document from the Seletar Jet Charter that owns the private plane, indicating that the chartered flight cost $37,000 or 1.8 million pesos.
Kapag natukoy na rin namin sino ang nagkontrata at nagbayad para sa chartered flight na ito para sana sa mga Dargani, kung yun ding mga opisyal mismo ng Pharmally o si Mr. Yang ay kasama. So, lalo lang masasubstantiate yung recommendation namin ng filing of charges laban sa kanila.
Hontiveros says if the flight was paid by the Darganis themselves, it raises doubts on the income taxes they paid to the government. Based on their income tax records, last year, Mohit paid 97,000 pesos of income tax, while Twinkle only paid 1,000 pesos.
Kung kinaya ng mga Dargani na magbayad ng ganyang halaga na halos 2 million pesos para sa isang chartered flight, mukhang hindi tama ang income tax na binayaran nila. At bukod pa dyan, kung hindi sila ang nagbayad, ang tanong tuloy, sino ang nagbayad? At the Darganis must be very important to that person or those persons who paid for it.
The senator will also inquire on the role played by the immigration personnel at the Davao City International Airport. Hontiveros says, based on the incident report from the ground personnel, the immigration personnel allowed the siblings to board the aircraft after inspecting their passports despite the standing immigration lookout bulletin order against them.
Could it be possible na nabigyan ng pastillas itong mga frontline immigration officers? Or baka naman sila ang nakatulong na ma-inform ang mga otoridad kung kaya dapat sila pasalamatan? What is the story?
The camp of the Darganis and the Bureau of Immigration have yet to comment on the matter. The 15th Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing is set on Friday, November 26. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God. Presidential aspirant Manila Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso has submitted himself to the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency for drug testing. Vice President Leni Robredo, meanwhile, believes drug testing should be done without prior notice. Meanwhile, Senator Bongo says he is willing to undergo drug tests anytime. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
Presidential aspirant Vice President Leni Robredo expressed readiness to undergo a drug test. During an interview in Malolos, Bulacan, VP Robredo said it would be self-serving for a candidate to submit to a drug test in a time preferable to the aspirant. VP Lenny said that drug testing should be random and unannounced so that authentic results could be obtained. Senator Christopher Bongo, who is also vying for the presidency in the 2022 elections, says every candidate should be willing to undergo a drug test.
Yung pinaka-kumpleto na drug test. Anyway, karapatan po ng bawat Pilipino malaman kung if you are fit to lead this country.
Meanwhile, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno is set to undergo drug testing at the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency headquarters. In his letter released to reporters, Moreno asked PDEA Director General Wilkins Villanueva to immediately test him for use of cocaine, shabu, marijuana, and all other illegal substances. Former Senator Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos has no public engagement today but released a statement requesting the government to administer booster shots to transport workers. He said drivers and PUV operators are essential workers and they provide a service crucial to economic recovery. Meanwhile, the tandem of Senators Panfilo Lacson and Senate President Vicente Sotto III are present in today's plenary session to deliberate the 2022 national budget. Senator Manny Pacquiao has no reported public engagement. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Vice Presidential aspirant and incumbent Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio has tested negative for illegal substance use. Duterte Carpio said she took the test on Wednesday and tested negative for illegal drugs including cocaine, ecstasy, and methamphetamine. The incumbent Davao City Mayor took the drug test a day after her running mate Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said he tested negative for cocaine. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police welcomes the initiative of election candidates to submit themselves to drug tests. PNP Chief Police General Jonardo Carlos says the PNP will document the results. However, Carlos also said that this will not stop the PNP from initiating investigations in case there is valuable information linking a candidate to illegal drug use or drug trade. PNP spokesperson Police Colonel Agustus Alba also said the PNP is willing to assist through its forensic group with any request from both local and national candidates to undergo a drug test.
Klaro po ang stand ng PNP. There is no such thing as mandatory drug test among our candidates, but if they request to conduct such, then we will facilitate.
Last Monday, Senator Panfilo Lacson and Senate President Vicente Sotto III underwent drug tests at PDEA.
Different agencies prepares for the forthcoming 3-day national vaccination. The government, meanwhile, urges the public to participate in the said activity. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why.
The government targets to open about 10,000 COVID-19 vaccination sites in different parts of the country for the 3-day national vaccination commencing on Monday, the 29th of November. First and second dose vaccinees, minors, and booster shot takers will all be segregated in vaccination sites to avoid confusion and errors in the process. As it targets to vaccinate 5 million individuals per day, an estimated number of workers reaching to about 160,000 are needed to reach the vaccination rate. These include health screeners, vaccinators, post-vaccination, monitoring personnel, health educators, registration personnel, data consolidators, and encoders. With this, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III says they are continuously enlisting personnel who would like to volunteer to help in vaccination sites.
Ongoing, but there has been a substantial enlisting of these volunteers.
Vaccination Czar National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. explains that some government agencies will help in the massive vaccination. These include personnel from the Philippine National Police, the Department of Education, and the Commission on Higher Education. President Rodrigo Duterte's cabinet members will also take part in the nationwide vaccination.
The cabinet officer for security, they will be handling their own regions because all cabinet members have its own responsible region. So they will be there.
Aside from volunteering as part of the workforce, the DOH urges the public, especially those who have yet to be vaccinated, to participate in the 3-day national vaccination.
People who have not been vaccinated, this is the time. Take advantage of this. It's very important. This protection is really going to be key to opening up larger segments of our economy and to bring back jobs.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Government employees will be excused from work if they will get vaccinated during the National Vaccination Days. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The national government declared November 29 and December 1 as working holiday. These are the days set for the 3-day National Vaccination Days. According to the Department of Health, employees will be excused from work if they decided to get vaccinated against COVID-19 or if they feel any adverse events after their vaccination. DOH Secretary Francisco Duque III said they cannot be marked absent by their employers.
It is a working holiday, but they will not be marked absent if they go out for the vaccination, so that will be respected. They will still have to go to work.
Under the interim guidelines of the Civil Service Commission, an employee will be given consideration if they will be absent during working days to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Meanwhile, the National Task Force Against COVID-19 will still not approve the request of several business groups to begin getting booster shot using the COVID-19 vaccines they procured. According to NTF Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., they need to prioritize citizens who are still in line to receive their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Based on the data of the NTF, around 70 million of the eligible population still haven't been vaccinated. Galvez said it is better to tend to these individuals first before recommending booster dose for the business sector.
So when we had the tripartite agreement, you have agreed, all the business sectors have agreed that they will conform with the priorities to be taken by the government. But I believe we'll thank the private sector. You have helped us a lot in providing volumes and also providing your sites and malls as vaccination sites. But in this decision, we believe it is really moral and mandatory that we finish first those 70 million who not have the jobs yet. So we need to prioritize those who are more vulnerable, not having the shot. Because when the surge comes, they will be the one that will be giving the burden of deaths and also a disease and also hospitalization.
The national government is focused on the 3-day National Vaccination Days, where they target to inoculate 15 million Filipinos. Galvez said he understands the sentiment of the public, but even other countries waited until 50% of their target population got vaccinated before administering booster shot. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Several local government units in Metro Manila are now gearing up for limited face-to-face classes. Janice Ingente will tell us why live. Janice, go ahead.
Yes, Diego, although there is no final decision yet on whether Metro Manila schools will be included in the pilot implementation of limited face-to-face classes, according to the Department of Education, the list of schools that want to participate in limited physical classes is ready. DepEd, however, clarifies it is still necessary to wait for the result of the Department of Health's risk assessment in schools in the National Capital Region.
As for NCR, it really depends on the risk assessment kasi kahanda naman yung listahan namin pag favorable ang risk assessment kasi may there's always this fear at the back of our minds that COVID might misbehave again. And in NCR, I will not mention names of local governments. There are local government mayors who still are quite hesitant And it's a good thing, Jane, na lumabas ito na ano natin yung pilot.
Meanwhile, some local government units in Metro Manila are conducting class simulation in preparation for the limited physical classes. In the photo shared by Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto, students are seen in peace while adhering to social distancing. The protocol is also observed in their seats inside the classroom. DepEd Pasig targets to begin limited face-to-face classes on December 6. 4 schools in the city are currently undergoing validation for face-to-face classes, including Pasig Elementary School, Nagpayong Elementary School, F. Legazpi Memorial School, and Ugong Pasig National High School. In Quezon City, Payatas P. Elementary School also had a simulation where over 200 students from kindergarten to grade 6 participated in the dry run. Preparations included marking hallways, social distancing desks, mask-on policy, hand-washing and disinfection stations, temperature-checking devices, and vaccinated school personnel. Meanwhile, in Pasay City, the local government distributes medical kits and UV lights as an additional health and safety measures in schools within the city. Jago, the Department of Education already said that in the next few weeks, they will observe if COVID-19 cases in Metro Manila continues to go down before allowing physical classes in NCR. Back to you, Jago.
Thank you for that live report, Janice Inhente from Quezon City.
Meanwhile, the Philippines today logged 890 more cases of COVID-19, pushing the nationwide tally of confirmed infections to 2,828,660. The Department of Health, or DOH, said the latest count brought the country's active cases to 17,864. Of these cases, 53.4% are mild, 12.39% are moderate, 14.4% are severe, 6% are in critical condition, and 4.8% are asymptomatic. Meanwhile, total recoveries rose to 2,763,114 after 1,710 more patients recovered from the disease. COVID-related deaths, however, climbed to 47,682 with 200 new fatalities. All accredited testing laboratories in the country were operational on November 22nd, but 5 laboratories failed to submit data on time, the DOH noted in its report. Meanwhile, the overall global COVID-19 caseload has reached 258,836,747, while the deaths have surged to 5,166,818, according to the Johns Hopkins University. The United States is the worst hit country with the world's highest number of cases and deaths at 47,982,843 and 773,857 respectively. In terms of infections, India follows with 34,535,763 cases and 466,584 deaths. In terms of deaths, Brazil comes third with 613,066 fatalities.
The vaccine expert panel is awaiting for a Chinese vaccine manufacturer to submit additional data for their vaccine's efficacy to children ages 5 to 11. The panel is also advising parents and authorities to only allow children to visit malls when they are already inoculated against COVID-19. Aiko Miguel explains why.
COVID-19 vaccines are proven to give protection to people from having severe COVID-19 infection, hospitalization, and death. With the low infection rate in the country, more Filipinos should get their jab against COVID-19. According to vaccine expert panel member and infectious disease expert Dr. Rontjin Solante, they have been thoroughly studying the data of Chinese-made COVID-19 vaccine CoronaVac. Dr. Solante said they have been awaiting Sinovac's submission of additional data before giving their final recommendation, as 5 to 11-year-olds are considered higher risk to get infected with COVID-19.
There are only some questions that we raised to them, and hopefully if we can revert to these questions soon as time possible, then we can give our full evaluation and recommendation. Minor questions pertaining to the vaccine. Why? Because we see that the 5 to 11 population is just different population if you compare this to the minor and adult. No, one, they are young, and what really is the risk, the adverse event? We need to look at closely those data, the dosage that will be given, and more importantly, the efficacy of these vaccines. We know na ang mga 5 to 11 ang babata din ng immune system nito. So titingnan natin kung ang immune response nito will also be better and can protect them when they will be given the vaccine, at saka yung safety ng mga bakuna nito.
United States manufacturer Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine for 5 to 11 years old may have a faster approval in the Philippines since this is already being used in the US for the said age group.
Madali na lang itong ma-approve dahil approved na siya sa mga stringent regulatory body, kagaya ng US. Okay? So pag na-approve na kasi yan sa mga ibang bansa na maganda ang regulatory body, the process of evaluation, malamang mataas ang tsansa na in our setting, like the Philippine FDA, mabigyan din yan ng approval.
COVID-19 vaccines of Moderna and Clover Biopharmaceuticals are also being reviewed by the VEP. Dr. Solante also suggests to parents and authorities to wait for their children to be vaccinated against COVID-19 before they allow them in malls.
Malaking bagay na bago natin mag-allow sa mga bata na makalabas, especially sa mga high-risk na mga bata, ay mas maganda na bakunahan sila kagaya ng mga ginagawa natin sa mga elderly population. Dahil ang bakuna ay may sapat na basis na it will also lessen the severe form of COVID. Okay? So, importante yan na kung ano man yung ginagawa natin sa mga adult, we have to also make this as a possible recommendation na doon natin papayagan pag nabakunahan na.
Experts advise parents not to choose which COVID-19 vaccine brand will be used for the inoculation of their children. They assured all COVID-19 vaccines in the country are being thoroughly reviewed by experts, even before the approval of the Philippine Food and Drug Administration. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for the news abroad. For the first time in history, the U.S. government has released millions of barrels of emergency oil reserves ahead of the holiday season. Joselito Liquido will tell us why live. Yes, Joselito, go ahead.
Good evening, Marielle. The U.S. Department of Energy has announced the release of 50 million barrels of emergency oil reserves as a short-term solution for the rising gas prices within the country. According to Biden at a White House conference, the high energy prices is a direct result of the lack of global oil supply as oil companies are not producing petrol quickly enough. The oil reserves is much needed as nations start to recover from the pandemic and the effects it had on the economic market.
So today I'm announcing that the largest ever release from the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve to help provide the supply we need as we recover from this pandemic. In addition, I brought together other nations to contribute to the solution. The bottom line, today we're launching a major effort to moderate the price of oil, an effort that will span the globe in its reach and ultimately reach your corner gas station, God willing.
Biden reached out to several countries in coordinated release of the reserves, some of them China, India, Japan, Republic of Korea, and the United Kingdom, which officials hope will have a bigger effect of addressing gas prices around the world. The move was announced ahead of a busy holiday season, but the barrels will not hit the stations until mid to late December, depending on the market take-up. However, Biden emphasized that this is not meant to be an overnight fix, and that in time, results will show as gas prices gradually drop. Biden also commented during his remark that it is expected that the reliance on petrol will gradually lessen as clean energy, more commonly known as the form of electric cars, will be shifted onto by the economic market. It is said that 32 million barrels will be exchanged over the next couple of months, and another 18 million barrels will be accelerated under a Congress-authorized sale over the next several months. As of Friday, the Department of Energy reported that 604.5 million barrels of oil are stored in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Mariel?
Thank you, Joselito Liquidor, reporting live from Malaysia. This may sound like a stuff in a science fiction movie, but NASA has launched a mission that could one day save Earth from a deadly asteroid. Ia De Vera will tell us why live. Yes, Ia, good evening.
Good evening, Mariel. NASA's DART mission began its 10th-month journey towards a small asteroid in order to learn how to protect Earth from space rocks. The DART spacecraft lifted off atop a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket on Wednesday at 1:21 a.m. Eastern Time or 10:21 p.m. local time from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. DART stands for Double Asteroid Redirection Test, which will involve a spacecraft crashing into a space object called Dimorphos to see how much its speed and path can be altered. The asteroid is 160 meters in diameter and is only half the height of the Eiffel Tower, but can explode with many times with the energy of a nuclear bomb. DART mission lead Andy Shang said an asteroid this size can destroy the whole area around the city. According to Kelly Fast from NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office, the DART spacecraft will only change Dimorphos's period of orbit by a tiny amount, which is all that is needed if an asteroid is ever discovered ahead of time. Mariel?
Ia, what is the reason why the asteroid Dimorphos was chosen for this test?
Well, Mariel, one of the reasons this small asteroid was chosen is because it will never hit the Earth. Apart from that, any changes to its orbit can be observed from Earthbound telescopes. The asteroid will also be coming unusually close to Earth in 2022, making it cheaper to get and will be brighter to look at through telescopes. Back to you, Mariel.
Thank you, Ia De Vera, reporting live from New Zealand. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Maria Latoza reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
Other public utility vehicle calls on the government for fuel subsidy inclusion as aid distribution for public utility GP begins. JP Nunez will tell us why.
Taxi drivers who were also affected by the consecutive increase of petroleum price in the previous months are asking the government for fuel subsidy inclusion.
Unfair naman po sa aming mga taxi driver kasi unang-una, kasama rin po kami sa naapektuhan ng pandemic. Sa ngayon, wala kaming kinikita kasi sa mahal ng gasolina. Pangalawa, wala pong gaanong pasayro.
Dapat sir, lahat na driver sa public utility, lahatin bigay kasi naggagasolina rin kami sir eh. Kung sa kanila diesel, kami gasolina rin, mas doble pa nga ang aming nagagastos eh. Wala na kami ngayon sir kinikita, hanggang 200, 300 na lang eh.
This was after the Department of Transportation and Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board today launched the release of fuel subsidy exclusive for public jeepneys. They will receive 7,200 pesos for each unit as fuel subsidy to cushion the impact of oil price hike. Land Bank of the Philippines reported that they are already downloading the 1 billion peso fund under the Pantawid Pasada program to qualified beneficiaries or cash card holders.
Malaking tulong ho ito kahit paano. Sa mahal ng diesel. Ang hina na nga ng biyahe, sobrang mahal pa ng diesel, kaya malaking tulong ito sa amin.
Kung ibibigay po sa amin ng operator yan, di maraming salamat. Kung cash nilang ibibigay, yung iba nun magagamit namin sa pamilya namin. Kasi ang araw-araw naman namin na pamamasada, nakukuha naman namin yung pang-crudo namin. Sana, ibigay na lang sa amin.
However, LTFRB Chairman Martin Delgra explains that tax reform for acceleration and inclusion or TRAIN law should be amended to include other public transport vehicles for fuel subsidy program.
We fully support the Department of Transportation, fully support the move of the Senate to add additional budget for that matter for the fuel subsidy program. Kaya nga lang, kung kailangan talaga mapasali yung ibang modes of public transport, kailangan na amendahan o mabigyan ng special provision itong kasalukuyang fuel subsidy program para mapasali pa yung ibang mga modes of public transport kagaya ng taxi, UV Express, bus, TNBS, yun po.
DOTR and LTFRB are still planning for programs to provide cash assistance to other public utility vehicle units as subsidy due to oil price hike. Meanwhile, the LTFRB also explains that fare hike is their last resort since many commuter will get affected. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Lakas CMD has formalized its adoption of former Senator Bongbong Marcos Jr. as the party's presidential candidate. The party's executive committee also confirmed in another resolution that Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte, the party's chairperson, is its vice presidential candidate. The Lakas CMD resolutions made the Marcos Duterte unit team its official candidates for the country's top posts in the 2022 elections. And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Psalms, chapter 115, verse 11, it says, "Ye that fear the Lord, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield." And those are the reasons behind the news, November 24, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.